It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Sproles, end zone, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into the Full Court Press. Jason Walker, I've got Eric Frandsen alongside me, and we're here for a Reaction Monday. There's a lot of things going on over the weekend.
There's a lot to react to, yes.
A lot of basketball. Still some football because we got the NFL in. Still in action. A couple of Aggies that were participating in games this weekend. Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers, Devin Tompkins with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll talk about how they played in their respective games and the divisional round overall. I got to watch a lot of it. It's probably the most football I've watched in a short span of time, probably since Thanksgiving. So maybe New Year's, but I didn't watch a ton of the New Year's 6 games. So it was a lot of good football and some good games. I don't think there was a bad game among them. I guess Ravens-Texans wasn't particularly interesting. But
yeah, they Ravens controlled a lot of that game, and it wasn't really in question. But the other games, they were great all the way through the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And some even to the very last seconds.
Yeah, some of them were super close. Some missed field goals, kickers, on the tongues of some bitter NFL fans this weekend.
Yes.
Oh, gotta love when games are decided by kickers. A lot of basketball, as you mentioned, and we're going to kind of start with that. College basketball, obviously still in swing. The Aggies playing a game on Saturday. They took on Fresno State. They end up winning that game. I suddenly forget the Aggies. I think it was 83-62, if I remember correctly. For some reason, I don't have the final score pulled up on my screen. But it was a 21-point victory for the Aggies. Not really much in question after the first 10 minutes or so of the game. The Aggies end up pulling away and then kind of holding a double-digit lead for most of the end of the first half, pretty much all of the second half. I think there was a brief moment in the early second half where Fresno State kind of cut it close, but the Aggies just tore away, went on a couple of runs, one to get back up by double digits, another to get up, by 20, which they ended up winning by 21. I think was, I don't know if that was their highest lead at any point in the game. It might have gotten up to 23-24.
I don't remember if it got that high.
It didn't get up super high. 21 was pretty much effectively as high as it got. So not really a tough game for the Aggies. They're playing at home. Nearly 9,000 people at the game. I think it was like 8,800 or 8,700 that were at the game. So pretty much filled the stadium. It got loud. It got fun. Great Osborne. I guess I hadn't really accounted for potentially how serious his knee hyperextension in New Mexico was, because I didn't think much of it, because Danny Sprinkle kind of dismissed that after the game.
Yeah, he really poo-pooed it after the game last week. And so I was like, okay, no big deal, apparently.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. And I didn't actually I think I was looking away when it happened, because I was probably finishing up my story, since it was, ended up being like a 13-point game. Now, I only just saw him limping. But he ends up, playing against Fresno State, played 30 minutes. His decrease in minutes, I think, had a lot more to do with the nature of the game and where it went. And then and it obviously had a really good first half. I think in the second half, Fresno State really tried to take him away with the zone. But then the Aggies just went elsewhere and got tons of points.
Yeah.
So even though he had 18 points in the first half, only 2 in the second half, it's because the Aggies didn't need Osborne to be aggressive the way he was in that first half.
Yeah, and he was taken out of the game with, 4 minutes to go?
Yeah, something like that. So, like I said, he wasn't pushing it super hard in the second half, partly because Fresno State was going to that 2-3 zone. which the Aggies kind of went like deer in the headlights against it. Like, I guess I shouldn't say froze. Like, it felt like Utah State knew exactly how to deal with it and did about 75% of what they needed to do against that zone. It felt like the passing, the cutting, a lot of the ball movement was there. But then they get to like almost to the point where you'd start to go and try and take a good shot, and then they just mess up. They'd either miss the shot, there'd be a poor effort on a shot attempt or something where it's like it was weird. Like that 2-3 zone that Fresno State used like worked, but like I don't want to say it actually worked. It was more Utah State just fumbling around as opposed to Fresno State actually imposing their will defensively on the Aggies for what was about like 3 or 4 minutes, where I think the Aggies they scored like 2 points in a span of like 3 or 4 minutes. So it was kind of a weird phenomenon to watch. It's hard to describe without like going through each play and being like, well, here's how this play should have ended in 2 points, and Utah State did everything right except the final moment there.
Right. It was interesting just to see kind of how the game kind of changed. Particularly in the second half. You've mentioned how Utah State kind of attacked the zone in different ways, or started to find different ways to score outside of Greg Osobor. But I also was paying attention to how Utah State changed defensively in the second half. I thought their ball screen defense was much better, doing a lot better job of taking away the inside game. And because early in the game, it's like, here we go again. There's stretches here where their big guys are just getting too close to the rim. They're able to get penetration into the paint, deep into the paint, and they don't have to work very hard to be right at the rim. But they started to change some things. And look, I say that, but we have to say that Isaac Johnson had a much, much better defensive game than we've seen him in a long time. I thought he did a much better job of playing within himself, playing within the system defensively, and taking a little bit more pride in being a defensive presence in the game, and allowed him to stay in the game for a lot longer.
Yeah, and I think Danny Sprinkle hit it on the head afterward when he talked about, Isaac Johnson just playing more physical, because that's kind of what he's missing. Is it's a physicality, but not like, too aggressive where you're committing fouls, because he often, he'll be trying out there, but he ends up making a dumb decision. He ends up committing a foul.
Right.
He doesn't move his feet quick enough.
Using his hands too much.
Yeah, gets caught in the air. Bringing the hands down, jumping up in the air, getting caught in the air. He was far more disciplined and did better. I think there's still things they need to improve on, not giving up deep post position on a lot of those ball screen actions where it's not necessarily that he's, point guard's throwing a pocket pass to the big man and he just dunks it. It's, when the rotations happen, suddenly a big man is like on the edge of the charge circle and he can just hit whatever shot he wants. Doesn't matter if Isaac Johnson has his hands straight up and is playing perfect defense, they're going to make that shot. But that's something I think they can improve on, but I do think they were a lot better overall in this game with it. And especially in that second half, because, Eduardo Andre, one of the forward/centers for Fresno State, he had 9 points at halftime, finished with 11. So, they worked on that throughout the game. And, making sure they're not giving up those easy shots. And I think it's still a work in progress. I wasn't sold. I didn't come out of that game thinking, the Aggies are back on defense. To me, it came across as some improvement, plus a weaker opponent, plus at home. And that's how you end up going from allowing 80-plus points in 2 straight games to allowing 62. I feel like that's kind of the equation where you're getting there. There's still some things I think the Aggies need to work on, but they do also have about a week before they go to Boise State, who, actually, mind you, doesn't have nearly as good an offense as maybe a New Mexico or even a UNLV at times.
Yeah, this is a really fortunate scheduling point for Utah State. You lose a tough game on the road. You come home. You play a team that's not very good, very average at best. And then you've got basically a bye week. There's no middle week game. So they have a lot of opportunity to spend time in the gym, watch a lot of film, get healthy and prepare for another tough opponent in this league. It's tough to win in Boise. And they're a very good team at home. And they're a very good team, period. And pose some matchup challenges for Utah State. So really, really important stretch for Utah State on its calendar to address some of these things that have been plaguing them. And I think they started to address those against Fresno, though honestly not as challenged as they were against UNLV or New Mexico. But they started to make some adjustments in the game, and they got better at it as the game went on, which is a really good sign for this team going forward.
Yeah, and I think defensively they did make as many improvements as maybe you could expect. They weren't perfect, but about as much of an improvement as you could realistically expect going against a team that's less challenging, and so they had a decent game there. The one thing that does concern me, and I want to get to some positives because I'm starting to sound like an Aggie hater the last few shows. But the one other thing, and this kind of shifts to the offense, was worried a little about turnovers. You only had 12. That's not the worst total in the world. But it's also against a team that ranks 291st in turnovers forced. Fresno State do not force turnovers on anybody. And Utah State committed 12. They had 14 against New Mexico, who are a turnover-forcing monster. And so you have 2 fewer turnovers against a team that you really shouldn't be committing turnovers against. This should have been a lot more like the Wyoming game where you only have like 7 or 8 the entire game. The Aggies had 7 against Wyoming. It should have been closer to that. And so for me, that's another thing they're going to need to work on. So they didn't really improve on that. It was obviously a negative against New Mexico. They didn't really improve on it against Fresno State, but they're going to need to against Boise State because that's going to be a slower-paced game, and turnovers are going to be a lot tougher to deal with. You're facing a very good defensive team, slower-paced team. You can't be committing a lot of turnovers. So that'll be one of the biggest keys, I think, going forward. But, I mean, alongside having the 12 turnovers, Eric, even with that, this is a team that for the 6th time in the last 7 games has scored 80-plus points.
Yeah, offense is doing great. Yeah.
And the one time they didn't score 80 points, they had 77.
Yeah.
So, like, this offense is playing, like, we talk about the defense being the strength and the offense has been a surprise, but, for the last 7 games, the offense has been the strength. Nobody's been able to stop them. So I think that's something that you can certainly, be really excited about with this team is how good they're playing on offense, even with, you can nitpick and say turnovers. They're committing a few too many turnovers. Against New Mexico, against Fresno State, or they don't shoot 3-pointers as often or as well as you may want them to. Because they rank in like the 300s in 3-point attempts and in like the 290s in 3-point percentage. But they're still scoring 80-plus points a game. They have this air of unstoppability. Like, what they're going to do. They're going to go to Great Osibor. That Ian Martinez is going to be taking some of those mid-range jump shots. Mason Falseth is going to drive it to the basket. All right, good luck. Like, Fresno State, they went to the 2-3 zone. You're like, all right, this will work. We're going to clog the paint up because everyone wants to get to the rim. It worked for like 2 minutes. And as I said, I don't even know if it worked. It was just Utah State. They had the cutting, they had the ball movement. They just kind of messed up at the end. And then that didn't work anyway. And even though Osibor only had 2 points in the second half, and Fresno was doing the zone, which is supposed to be the, that's the thing a lot of people probably say can kill Utah State is just, 2-3 zone, clog the paint. Utah State scored more points in the second half than they did in the first half.
Yeah. Eduje got going. Ian Martinez, he just starts to feast at that time. And gosh, we even saw Osibor hit a couple of threes.
Yeah,
which is uncharacteristic, but hey, great.
That may be the scariest thing because it's something that you can kind of see that maybe he'll be able to develop over the course of this season and maybe next year. Start averaging like 1 to 2 3-pointers per game and maybe shoot in the low 30s. That will absolutely terrify teams. Because, right now, you can still count Osibor's career 3-point attempts on your fingers and thumbs. He has 10 of them. He's also made 4. 3 of those this season. He's like 3 for 7 or 8 or something like that. So, his 3-point percentage looks fantastic for his career, but it's on 10 attempts. But it's something like if you leave him just painfully wide open, then he has a chance to every now and
You're
again
just
burn
giving
you.
him an invitation.
Yeah. And even then, if you're not doubling him, then he also can take guys off the dribble. So it just adds another dimension to his game that's just so incredibly tough to guard. Going to the full court press text line, we had some text actually come in before the show. But if you guys want to join the full court press text line, the number is 435-339-0321. 9-5 texting in before the show, a couple of texts actually. Says, I'm saying it now, all those curly fry donkey fans better be worried on Saturday. Utah State has time to rest, which makes their defense elite. I know winning is extremely high with this combination. P.S. Great win at home. We paid the rent. Go Aggies. I was saying Wyoming winning at home this last week. Tell you never overlook any Mountain West basketball team. And that was something I put out on social media. It's like never take a road win for granted. Wyoming beating Nevada. Winning at home over Nevada.
98-93.
That's a high-scoring game.
High-scoring game.
9-5 also texting in just now, saying, I think this coaching staff pushes our players. That's why you see great hiring three, and I think you'll keep getting better. I think great, like, taking threes. I think you'll keep getting better, so developing the players.
Yeah. This was interesting listening to Coach after the game, just how the last couple of days it was kind of tough for the team. They looked at film, they pointed out what they need to do to get better, and it sounded like they took it well. And we saw a team respond, a good team respond, as they should. They took some personal pride. They looked at film to recognize their weaknesses and address those. And thankfully, the schedule was right to do that against a team that's not very good.
Yeah.
So they could fine-tune that and get better as the game went on. And now they have a chance to continue to do that as they get ready for a good team. Boise State, they're 50th in the net today. They're getting votes in both polls. They're effectively, the mid-30s if you keep going down the line. But they're a good team, and the Aggies will definitely be tested on the road on Saturday.
Yeah, very tough place to play. 5338 texting in. Says the Aggie big man need to be quicker and more explosive underneath the basket. The get ready, get set dunk routine isn't working. As an aside, while I got the score of the game wrong, as I'll note, he predicted 90-69. Says I said, well, I got the score of the game wrong. I nailed the point margin exactly.
Yes, he did.
More perfectly precise predictions to come. Signed 5338, your official Quad 1 texter. He's off by 7 points in the lower scoring direction.
Yeah. No, but I agree with the pace of getting the ball down low. There have been a couple of times where Great and Sacco they get the ball, kind of gather, and then take time to explode and rise to the rim. And that gives the defense time to react. That's something that they need to continue to work on, is that when you get the ball, go quick. You watch some guys in the NBA, they get the ball and immediately they're at the rim. They're making that move. It's taking a little bit of time for Great Asabor and Khalifa Sacco to gather, set their feet, and then launch. And it gives time for defensive guys to collapse and clog that up and get hands up in the air, and they have to finish through contact, which sometimes, that's what gets them to the line. But we've also seen in the last couple of games that also provides opportunities to get that shot blocked, or just what should be an easy bunny gets deflected, or now I got to try to maneuver my body in a different way to get it around the trees down here. So that is something that Utah State's got to be a little bit quicker about when they get those entry passes down to the low post, to make a quick decision and go, because it does seem like they're a little slow in the gather and then launch.
I can certainly see that where you want him to go up quicker, but I also don't want him to get rushed, because there is a lot of coaching emphasis in going up strong and going up off 2 feet. where if you don't end up doing that, you don't get your shot blocked, but you miss it. And so I guess it's trying to find that balance, because you're right, there are occasions where they're getting blocked, where they do give the defense time to react.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's something that maybe they can work on. Some of it, I think, is just finishing smart, where sometimes you got to use the rim to protect the shot. That I actually had that one thought. I think Osborne got blocked. I think early in the second half, when I thought it was, I think, one of those occasions where he had an open look at the rim, but he got blocked from behind. I thought, probably should have just gone to the other side of the basket, do a reverse, and that shot doesn't get blocked. And I don't know if I can think of an instance with Sacco, but it's like, you got to be able to, I don't want to say take your time, because you need to at least sort of get on your way, but it does also take some movement to gather off 2 feet and go up strong. And in that point, it's pick the right spot, know where the defense is so you can keep the ball away from them, and then you can even sometimes draw contact, force a foul, maybe get an and one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not every time you got to go quick. I mean, you have to feel where the defense is. You don't want to go quickly into the arms of somebody who's there waiting for you, but it does need to be moved at a little bit quicker pace than what's been happening. And there are some times where Great gets the ball and he reacts quickly and he goes. But they're just over the last, I don't know, week and a half or so, it seems to be a little bit more glaring that if he takes a little bit too much time in gathering and then setting his feet and then jumping, it's given a time for somebody else to get there and makes that shot more complicated than it should be.
Yeah, especially with how much they end up, doubling him.
Yeah.
9952 will do this text, and then we'll go to break. It seemed the approach of doubling the ball on the pick and roll worked half the time. There were a lot of easy dunks inside when Great doubled. Do you see that same approach at Boise? And I think they're going to try. I'd have to look and see how good their point guard play is. I know they have Roddy Anderson and I'm suddenly spacing their other guard. Where they've got a couple of guards in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're as good of point guards as, UNLV or New Mexico and even Fresno State, where Isaiah Hill's averaging like 5+ assists. I have to double check and see how good that is, but I think it was a bit of an adjustment where they're doubling. What they're trying to do is they're trying to hedge where, they go around the screen, the big man tries to just stop the point guard on their tracks, and at that point it's trying to force that point guard to hang on to the ball while Great has time to get back to his man, or a lot of times there are other guys rotating. You saw some of the players rotating in to maybe guard the big, like Mason Falso, I know, did it a couple of times. Whoever's off ball goes in, tries to maybe pick off a pass if they attempt to pass it inside. If they pass to the man that, say, Mason was guarding, that's usually a cross-court pass into the corner. You live with that, you rotate back. That didn't work every time, but I think it works well enough that Utah State's going to try to keep doing that. They're going to keep trying to hedge these guards, just stop them in their tracks, get your hands up, and keep those passes into the big from happening. Because that's where Utah State has really struggled to stop those passes from happening. Even Fresno State got a few of them. So, I think we'll see some adjustments in the pick and roll defense, but I think a lot of what you saw Fresno State, they're going to keep trying unless they are forced off of that. So, all right, we got to take another break. When we come back, or a break, this will be our first break of the show.
First one.
We'll be back after this. We'll update the standings of the Mountain West, rankings, talk about AP Top 25, net, RPI, anything you want to talk about. That'll be up next here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. It's the Full Court Press.
No matter how cold it is outside, you can count on a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace to keep you warm inside. York furnaces provide consistent comfort throughout your home. York furnaces are protected by the strongest warranties available. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272 to schedule a free evaluation of your system. Advanced Heating will help you save up to 50% in energy costs this season. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Check out the new Liberty Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in beautiful Montpelier, Idaho. We've got friendly staff, great service, fresh inventory, and the same values you expect in a small town. Montpelier, Idaho, a small town with great people to serve you, the people of Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. You can now see most inventory online too at libertycdjr.com. We're the new Liberty Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Montpelier with warranty forever.
Locker 42 is a store for Utah State fans. Many of the items you'll find there are custom, one-of-a-kind produced by Locker 42. Such production allows for the best possible prices and custom orders that are unheard of at this level, and is one of the highest contributing licensees for royalty sales. Your purchase at Locker 42 is supporting scholarships and student athletes. Hoodies, t-shirts, hats, jackets, everything Aggie is at Locker 42. Locker 42, a store for Aggie fans by Aggie fans.
Check this out.
This is The Herd.
You're excited. I'm excited.
With Colin Cowherd.
I would like to point out that all through this league with quarterback injuries, when an offensive coach loses a starting quarterback, it's not man overboard. 32 of 37 this last weekend, Jake Browning a backup at Jacksonville. Zach Taylor, offensive coach.
This is The Herd. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
This is Dan at the Sports Academy, inviting you to check out our new gear this new year. Our renovated weight rooms are full of brand new cardio and strength equipment for all fitness levels and abilities. After your workout, take your health and fitness to the next level with our new recovery zone with cryotherapy and massage chairs. Experience the new gear at the Sports Academy this year. Gain more energy and love life this new year at the Sports Academy. Your club, your results, your life.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
.1069 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. It's the Full Court Press. Jason Walker and Eric Frandsen. Talk about Utah State and their win over Fresno State this past Saturday. A solid 21 points for... Geez, that song went on forever. I was like, when is it going to slow down?
You can always take it out.
I was about to do that, but then I looked up, I was like, did I accidentally put a 3-minute song into the... I don't know how I would have pulled that off, but threw off my groove. Now I don't know where I'm at, but wanted to shift gears from talking about Utah State's game against Fresno State. If you guys want to keep sending in thoughts on the game, feel free. The Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321, but shifting gears, talking about kind of the Mountain West as a whole, talk about some of the games. And let's actually go through the entire weekend. That'll help kind of preface talking about the rankings and why they are where they are at. We did have the game on Friday, as I'm slowly getting there to pull up.
Yeah, UNLV going on the road and again being just a menace in the Mountain West. However, Colorado State able to put things together after being on some shaky ground, but finding a way to win. And Colorado State wins at 78-75. UNLV proving that they're not to be trifled with. I mean, they're 2-3 in conference play, but they have been a menace to about everybody that they've played.
Yeah, I mean the two of those losses are Utah State, the ever controversial game with
5-point play
where Utah State gets that one. Obviously, the one just now to Colorado State, and then the third one to San Diego State on the road. So, their 3 losses are, all of them fairly understandable. Many people thinking that the Aggies, that they should have a 3rd win as opposed to a 3rd loss there. But yeah, UNLV, they're, I talked about them being, spoilers, and dang, that's going to be the way it is all conference. Like, UNLV is going to have some surprise wins, although it probably shouldn't be a surprise anymore. It's just going to be like, they're going to come in, they're going to beat you, and it's going to set some teams back in their hunt for, rankings and NCAA tournament bids and whatnot.
Isaiah Stevens, Nick Clifford led the Rams to get the victory and finding a way. Look, this is their 2nd game in a row. They found ways to win in close fashion, and they got rewarded for that, actually, with some rankings that came out. But that was the standalone game on Friday, and then 4 games on Saturday. And the game that happened before Utah State on CBS was a barn burner. Another game down to the wire between good teams in the Mountain West Conference. And Boise State jumped out early, had a decent lead, and then San Diego State crawled back and made it close and threatened to take the lead. But it was always a pretty close game. Boise State has like a 6 or 7 point lead with a minute to go, and they almost give it away. That was a very dramatic game in conference play on national television. Yeah, very good game, and now Boise State maybe getting a little too big for its britches. With it's got a lot of quad wins, but a lot of quad 2 losses. They're 4-1 in quad 1 games, which really shows their peak. And this is another game that shows, like, hey, this is how good Boise State can be. They can be very dangerous.
And I've been talking them up all in non-conference, and now Boise State justifiably seeing themselves as one of the better teams in the conference. But
just a half a game behind Utah State to be on top of the conference in standings.
Yeah, as far as the standings, they are there. Certainly, as you mentioned, right? Just with Utah State, just about. Other games, the less exciting, New Mexico beating Air Force by a similar margin to Utah State beating Fresno State. I think New Mexico 85-66. That's 19?
19.
So basically, essentially just by the same there. But the surprise, as we mentioned, and I think I forget which one of the texters noted it. I think it was 9-5. Wyoming defeating Nevada at home, and we mentioned that in the first segment. 98-93. Nevada they were a team that I was talking about being one of the most underrated teams in the conference, but they're sliding now, a little bit. So they're 2-3 as well.
Yeah, beginning to wonder if Nevada has now missed their window to get into the NCAA tournament, which, they're 15-4.
I wouldn't say that. There's 13 games
There's
left.
There's still a lot of games to be played.
And there's a lot of good teams they're going to be playing against, but you begin to wonder, are they going to miss that window with how they're playing? And obviously this loss to Wyoming really sets them back. It's a bad loss. It's, they can make up for it with good wins, but that's always going to hang around, especially come the end when these committees are splitting some pretty thin hairs. That's not one you want to have on the old resume.
Yeah, Utah State loses a road game and that give up 99. Nevada gives up a road game and gives up 98. But Utah State's road loss was against a quad 1 team. Nevada's road loss, quad 3.
Not a particularly great offense either. I know I shouldn't say that they're not, because Akukat and Sam Griffin are both very good scorers, but they're streaky. And Utah State forced them into. Costello actually had a pretty good game against the Aggies, but Griffin was just shut down. And I guess I didn't even look at the box score too much. I imagine
Griffin had 26.
Yeah, Griffin, and he ended up being Mountain West Player of the Week.
Cott scored 20. You had Brendan Wenzel. He poured in 19.
Yeah, like those guys can all go off, but you'd think a good defense would be able to shut. Like Utah State, let Cott go off a little bit. He didn't have a great game. He had a good game. Wenzel had a couple of moments, and then Griffin disappeared. Like, that's what good defenses should be able to do to Wyoming. But I guess maybe they just had an off day and just allowed these guys to go off, because that happens to the best of defenses, where Utah State just allowed New Mexico to go for 99, even though they're a good defense at times. So it's one of those games that sometimes you just gotta try and forget it, because that's what Nevada's gonna have to try and do. Is like, look, that was just an off game, but as we said, it could have long-reaching consequences, both in standings and come NCAA tournament time if they're right on that bubble.
Yeah, that's just looked it up. It's a quad 3 loss for Nevada.
Yeah, it's not super bad. That quad 3 loss, it's ugly, but it's not horrible. Quad 4, it's like, my goodness.
Yeah, that's hard to come back from.
But so those are the games that obviously happened, and so let's look at the AP poll. Obviously, some eyes on that to see how far Utah State would drop down. Obviously, they lost; they go 1-1, so predictably they were going to drop. Didn't drop as far as I thought it was possible, because they dropped from 16 to 18. Thought there was a chance they could drop to 20 or 21, but I think with New Mexico being really good, there was it wasn't that like it was a loss, but it's not catastrophic. It's not like losing to these like a Wyoming, which would have just about kicked the Aggies out of the rankings if that had happened. But the Aggies dropped to 18th, but at the back end of the AP poll, a couple of Mountain West teams sneaking in, including the team Utah State lost to. You got Colorado State at 24, and then New Mexico coming in at 25. So we got 3 teams in the Mountain West poll again. That's the way it was 2 weeks ago. Now it's back to that.
And similar in the coaches poll, Utah State at 20, Colorado State at 23, New Mexico at 25. San Diego State out of both polls, but just on the outside looking in. They're basically 27th.
Yeah, if you look at the AP poll and you extend it based off of the points received from votes, San Diego State sitting at 27th, and then Boise State 35th. They got a handful of votes from a handful of people putting them in the back end of their top 25. So 5 teams in the Mountain West either in the poll or getting votes. So a lot of respect for the Mountain West right now. And as of the last bracket matrix update, which was like 3 days ago, I'm a little surprised they haven't updated it. But
really, I thought it was updated today.
Yeah, I looked at it this morning. Maybe they've updated as of now. It's been 4 or 5 hours since I looked at it. But of the January 19th update, it had 6 Mountain West teams in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how that changes because that wouldn't have taken into account Saturday's games. Wouldn't have taken into account Nevada's loss to Wyoming. And Nevada, I think, was like an 11 seed in that bracket matrix. So.
Oh, yeah, updated January 19th. You're right.
Yeah, so they haven't – not as many people updating their brackets the last few days. So they usually wait every few days to update their bracket. Usually they have it updated like on Mondays.
Yeah.
But, so looking good for the Mountain West in the bracketology and in the polls. But as far as the net, few teams tumbling. I don't know. Like I did my average ranks, and there were some big jumps by Colorado State and San Diego State. New Mexico jumped a little bit, but then like Boise State, Utah State both fell.
Mm-hmm.
And UNLV is starting to catch up with that, top 6. Because you've got, again, the top 6 of Colorado State, Nevada, San Diego State, New Mexico, and Utah State.
Colorado State.
Did I get them all? There's a top 6, and I can't remember.
Yeah.
You guys know which ones. Like they're the kind of the 6 that you're thinking they're going to get in. They are looking to get into the NCAA tournament. But yeah, UNLV is gaining ground on them. Like back-to-back weeks when I've done these average ranks, like they jumped like 13 or 14 spots last week on average. They jumped 7 or 8 this week. And that's, with a loss.
Yeah. Another team that's been moving, unfortunately, in the wrong direction was San Francisco. They dropped like 8 or 9 spots, which means they are out of the quad 1 area for Utah State, so they're now quad 2. So Utah State's resume was looking a little better, 2-2 in quad 1 games, but now they're 1-2 in quad 1. And the San Francisco win and the Delta Center has moved into quad 2 territory, where Utah State's undefeated in that territory.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be like that a lot of the season. You'll probably see San Francisco, peeking back into.
Same thing with Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley. I think both of them jumped into quad 1 for a minute.
Bradley is still quad 1, but they're on the fringe.
Yeah, so you'd prefer them to stay in quad 1 because that leaves you undefeated in quad 2. Like quad 1 losses, you kind of excuse pretty much all of them. But once they're quad 2, you begin to raise question marks.
Right.
But that's only when, if you look at it superficially.
Yeah, when we're in late February and early March.
Yeah. But, the ranking looking good for the Mountain West. Overall, it's still a tough conference. Breaking news. Mountain West is a tough conference to play in.
Yeah, Utah State 5-1 on top in the standings. Boise State 4-1, just half a game behind the Aggies. Then you've got New Mexico and San Diego State at 4-2. Colorado State and Wyoming at 3-2. Nevada and UNLV at 2-3. And then the rest doesn't really matter. But if we look at the net rankings, you've got 6 teams in the top 55. Nevada is that team that's on the fringe. But as you mentioned, UNLV has been moving up, and they're in 84 right now. So still very strong showing out of the Mountain West Conference. As I'm still going to double down, this is at least a 5-bid league. No, at minimum, a 4-bid league, more likely a 5-bid league. 6 is still a stretch, but at minimum, it's a 4. 4 teams will go, but we're getting deep enough into the season where we can look at this league is good enough to send 5.
I think with how entrenched, like right now, Utah State, San Diego State, and I think Colorado State are still they're still entrenched in a lot of these like brackets where they're like 5 and 6 seeds.
Yeah, and spending time in the top 25. Both of them all 3 of those teams have spent time in the top 25, nationally ranked.
Yeah, and so I think it would take a lot for them to fall. And so for me, I still see minimum of 3. I'd give 4 to be by far the most likely. I could see 3 happen, but that would require a couple teams to really fall off. But yeah, 4 or 5 bid league still very much in play. We got to take another break. When we come back, we're going to keep it on basketball. We're going to shift over to high school hoops. An exciting weekend, a lot of games going on. I know we got a chance to talk about the Thursday games in girls basketball on Friday, so we'll focus on the boys basketball games, results there, updated standings, and I don't know who's left. Is anybody left undefeated in Region 11?
We'll talk
about that next here on the Full Court Press.
Let's start the new year right with a huge winter clearance at Daryl's Appliance. You know Daryl's for their scratch and dent appliances. Now save an extra 10% off. They just got a fresh new load. And they have selected display appliances marked down to move fast. Plus, get 12 months financing on your purchase through January. But wait, there's more. Book a service call online and get a $15 discount. Only at Daryl's Appliance, west on Airport Road.
They say diamonds are a girl's best friend, particularly when she's thinking of marriage. When it comes to this important decision, visit S. Needham Jewelers in historic downtown Logan. We have been the part of thousands of happy engagements. You'll enjoy our vast selection of beautiful and unique engagement rings. You'll also enjoy our relaxed and elegant environment. You'll not be hurried and you'll feel no pressure as you have fun looking for the perfect ring. Where Utah gets engaged. S. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
It's ski season, Cache Valley. This is Mark at the Sportsman, where we mount bindings. If you need bindings mounted to your skis or snowboards, in most cases, we can do it in 48 hours or less. That's right, 48 hours or less. At the Sportsman, we can also tune, sharpen, wax, and repair your skis or board so they are ready for the season. Usually, we can get those done in 48 hours as well. For 73 years, we have been taking care of skis and boards only at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
Are you seeking the best in healthcare services in Northern Utah? Look no further. Agis Healthcare has been voted the best of Northern Utah. I am Jason Jones. We take pride in providing top quality home care and hospice services to the residents of Northern Utah. Experience the difference with Agis. Our dedicated team is here to provide compassionate home care and hospice services tailored just for you. Call us today at 723-9000 or visit our website at myagis.com. Agis Home Health and Hospice, your trusted partner right here in your community.
Do you have a fireplace or stove that isn't working right? Don't wait until winter to get it fixed. Get ahead of the game and get your fireplace or stove serviced now by the best of Northern Utah winter, Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They service everything from Quadra-Fire pellet stoves to heat and glow fireplaces. Get a 20% discount on your next service and labor when you mention this ad. Call 752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker alongside Eric Frandsen. Talking a lot of basketball. It is basketball season. It's like when people ask me, I tell them I work in sports, and they're like, the first question that they always ask, what's your favorite sport? My answer, usually my stock answer is, depends on what time of year it is. And right now, my favorite sport is basketball.
Yes.
We've gone from talking about Utah State basketball specifically to the Mountain West as a whole, how things kind of sit for the entire conference. Let's shift down to high school basketball. There may be down a level of basketball, but the excitement, certainly still there.
Yeah.
A lot of exciting games. Most exciting, we'll save that one for last. But first you had Ridgeline going up against Skyview. Kind of feel bad for Skyview, where they're normally so good. Maybe some people don't feel bad for Skyview, where they've been at the top of the standings, and now they start the year 0-3. They lost to Ridgeline 65-56. Ridgeline getting back on track with the win there. And I don't know what else to say. It was a good game for Ridgeline. Skyview maintaining competitiveness in these games, but then kind of by the end, I imagine it was a lot like the game where they were going up against Logan. I was watching that game, obviously, as I was calling it. Kept it close in the first half. It was a 4-point game at halftime. Logan just pulled away. I don't know if that's exactly what happened in this one, but I feel like that's going to happen a lot to them, where they're going to be competitive, but just not good enough, as they've gone from a team laden with talented seniors to the team is kind of full of a bunch of underclassmen who are now working their way up, trying to reestablish the success that Skyview's used to.
Yeah, Skyview usually a team that doesn't really have
lose a whole lot.
Yeah, they doesn't have to lose a lot. They just reload every year with the way that program is. But this was going to be a little more challenging year for them. But on top of that, Carter Davis getting hurt is tough. But Tanner Davis, yeah. But Liam Guthrie, he's coming along. He's been playing well. They've had a couple other players that they had pretty balanced scoring. It's just they just don't have the experience or the weapons there quite like some of these other teams do. So this was going to be a bit of a challenging year for Skyview anyway. But like you said, despite some of the things working against them, they're still competitive. They're still trying, and they're still trying to make these. They're still trying to go out there and win some games. Just haven't found one yet in region play. But for Ridgeline, Carson Cox just went nuts. He went bonkers. 31 points, and usually this is a team that has a few guys that really stand out, but Carson Cox just had himself a night.
Yeah, and so a very talented Ridgeline team, kind of getting back on track. They lost to Bear River. I think it was either the last time out or one of their early games was a loss to Bear River. So getting back on track with the win over Skyview. Looking at one of the other games, looking at Bear River, they were looking pretty good. They were sitting at 2-0. They were one of the undefeated teams in Region 11 going into the third night of region games. But they took their a loss, 71-58, to Mountain Crest. Mountain Crest kind of asserting its dominance a little bit. They lost their region opener to Logan, but now have wins, I think, over Green Canyon and Bear River, who are both sitting up there at the top of the RPI. I think Bear River's 4th in the RPI and Green Canyon's 5th. So Mountain Crest showing, they took Logan to triple overtime on the road.
Yeah.
So Mountain Crest showing just how dang good of a team it is right now.
Very dangerous, very balanced team for Mountain Crest. Although Arnell, he had himself a big game. 6 3-pointers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is awesome at a high school level to see something like that. Bear River, they've been a great team, great basketball team. It wasn't their night. Mountain Crest won every quarter. Mountain Crest outplayed Bear River in every single quarter. They were close, some of them, but the Mustangs showing that they're the real deal, and they are not to be trifled with.
Yeah, it's going to be an adventure, especially when Logan goes back to Mountain
Crest.
Crest.
That will be a game to watch for sure.
But yeah, it's really, for Bear River, they played their first 2 region games at home, won those 2, and they went on the road. So I'm wondering to see if there's a home versus road dynamic where they've beaten some good teams, although again they lost to a pretty tough Mountain Crest team. Going to the final game in this one, kind of game of the night. Two highest teams as far as balance between RPI. Green Canyon, I think, was 4th or 5th at the time. Logan was 3rd in the RPI. And so I know Green Canyon was 0-2 in region play. Logan was 2-0, but these are two very close teams in terms of how talented they are. And it was a dang close game. Green Canyon leading for a lot of the game. Logan did take some leads, and they kept it pretty close. Green Canyon never really had too much of an advantage. Then in the late stages, Logan makes its moves, goes ahead 53-51 with 2 minutes left in the game. Final score, 53-31.
That is so wild.
Can you imagine how stressful those 2 minutes are? Nobody scored for 2 minutes. And the final play, just an unfortunate there where Green Canyon took just a little too much time to get their final shot off. And I don't think they got it off in time, and it missed anyway. So
yeah, it's like watching it, they're just out of sorts as to how much time was really on the clock. And just trying to run their actions, it just seemed like they were not as sped up as they needed to be.
Yeah, which it was the exemplar of the entire last 2 minutes, because both teams turned it over like 3 or 4 times. I don't know how many actual shots there were in the last 2 minutes, but a lot of them were missed. But interesting enough, great game from Green Canyon. They hold Jordan Child, a guy averaging a ton of points. I just realized we have to take a break soon. But Jordan Child averaging like 20 points. He scored 6.
Yeah.
But
crazy game.
Logan finding other ways to win. But as I mentioned, we do need to take a break. I got lost in talking about high school basketball.
Yeah, we'll give the updated standings coming up on the other side of this timeout here in the Full Court Press.
Hello, I'm Zane Johnson, personal banker and operations manager at Cache Valley Bank. With nearly a decade of banking experience, I enjoy meeting new people and helping them with their banking needs. I have a reliable team who demonstrate the personalized attention and exceptional service you deserve. Come visit the Smithfield branch and ask for Zane, or give me a call to see what opening an account with Cache Valley Bank can do for you. I look forward to meeting you. Hablo Español, Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Happy New Year! You survived the holidays. This is Jarek at Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Did you meet the family during the holidays? How was that? Is it time to go engagement ring shopping? Valentine's Day is coming, but why wait? Do it now. Bring her in and view our collection of over 3,000 rings. With many of them being our own custom designs, I know we will find the perfect one. At Jarek's Fine Jewelry, we make it special. So come make it Jarek.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jarek's.
This is Ryan
and Travis, owners of My Mattress.
North and South Logan locations.
Mattress Wars, brother versus brother, store versus store.
The Valley loves something new, so my store, the North store, will win.
The South store's been here for 14 years. My store will win.
The North store has more purple mattresses.
The South store has more Tempur-Pedics.
The North store has closeout deals up to 70% off.
Both stores have that. Plus, I'm the older brother. So if my store wins, everyone gets a free pillow.
Mine too. Mattress Wars at My Mattress.
With fresh snow comes fresh deals at Murdoch GMC Chevrolet Cadillac. Make some fresh tracks to our winter sales event. In this season, our Murdoch vehicles are perfect for making fresh tracks to winter fun. Right now, receive up to $8,000 off a new 2024 GMC Sierra 1500. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Chevrolet GMC Cadillac in Logan or online at murdochchevroletlogan.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 1/31/24.
Finding effective and affordable insurance solutions can be stressful. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. As a kid growing up, my father, Gordon, took care of my insurance, and I knew I never needed to worry. I was covered. I've continued to provide that same service for my clients at Quality First. My team of experienced agents work hard to ensure every customer gets the help they need. Let's sit down and take the stress out of your insurance. Call us today, 435-752-0101.
Winter. JM Mechanical knows winter in Cache Valley and just how to fix, tune up, and replace problems you may be having with your home heating system. JM Mechanical is Cache Valley's most trusted name for repair work on every brand of residential and commercial heating units. Fast, 24-hour heating service is available in Box Elder, Cache County, and Franklin County with 100% satisfaction guaranteed and upfront pricing. Call JM Mechanical at 563-6267. That's 563-6267.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
There's a Craftsman tool blowout at Napa Auto Parts. All Craftsman tools and tool sets are 5% over cost. You can also earn a $20 Visa gift card when you purchase one qualifying Napa Legend or Napa Legend Premium AGM battery. Or you can earn a $25 Visa gift card when you purchase one qualifying AAA Premium battery. The offer expires January 31st. So I wanted to really quickly update the Region 11 boys basketball standings. Before we cut to break, we got lost in all the glory of Region 11 basketball so far, how competitive it's been. But sitting at the top, you've got Logan there, 3-0, undefeated so far. And then you've got three teams sitting at 2-1, Mountain Crest, Bear River, and Ridgeline. It's really competitive there. And then you have two 0-3 teams, the surprise 0-3 team, Green Canyon, and then Skyview also at 0-3. But should expect a lot more moving up and down the standings as we go along.
Yeah, it's going to be a big week this week as they're getting near the end of playing everybody in one venue before they switch it to go back to the other venues.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After being selected as Mr. Irrelevant in the 2022 NFL Draft, Niners quarterback Brock Purdy has been heavily scrutinized. The team's performance in this weekend's divisional round matchup against the Packers didn't do the young QB many favors either. Purdy made multiple turnover-worthy throws and struggled to operate Kyle Shanahan's normally efficient offense. But we have to be fair to Purdy. Despite a poor showing through the air, the quarterback kept firing in heavy rain. He never faltered. He orchestrated multiple crucial scoring drives and came up big during the team's biggest drive of the season, helping the Niners go to the NFC title game. But it wasn't a dominant performance that many had expected. But not everyone can be elite every time they step onto the field. There are going to be those down days. And when your franchise quarterback can overcome those struggles and rally his team to victory, that tells you a whole lot about the longevity of this young quarterback. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.